Atlanta United has played 5 games already this season, and I feel like this is a good time for me to just essentially do a big picture check on how I feel about the team so far, the team that I woefully support. It's still pretty early in the season, but I did just want to yap a little bit because I already have a lot of emotions, and again, we're only 5 games in. So let's get into the yap sesh. So going into this season, I have little to no expectations due to all the PTSD from last season. I genuinely have no hopes for this team this season at all. Having all the hype in the world for 2025, like going into the season, and then for everything to just come crashing down like it did, I was like, I don't want to go through that again. So regardless of who's coming in, regardless if we have Chris Henderson, Tata Martino, whoever, the hopes are still not there. And then on top of that, preseason, Atlanta barely had a preseason. They were a part of the Torneo de Texas, or the Tornea de no. They were part of the Torneo de Texas, essentially a Texas tournament. This was like the first year doing it, between Houston Dynamo, FC Dallas, New York Red Bull, or Red Bull New York, and then Atlanta United was a part of it as well. I personally do not want to see Atlanta be a part of this again. They played like 2 games maybe, and we didn't really get to see anything from them in preseason to like get us hyped up for the new season. They had a friendly against Lexington SC, I believe, or was it Louisville? I'll fact check that. But they had a preseason game and they won 4-0. Cool. You would expect them to beat a USL side. No shade. And then they played against Houston Dynamo. That ended in like a 1-1 draw, but they lost to pens, or they lost on pens. And then their second game, I think they played against Red Bull New York, and then they won that game, but the goals that were scored were own goals. So did we really win that game? And then the game against FC Dallas didn't happen because of the weather. So I personally think that Atlanta should just go back to what they used to do, go to Birmingham, go to Carolina or something, or Chattanooga, wherever they usually go to for the preseason. They need to just stick to that, because we literally were not able to see what this team was capable of giving us going into the new season, which again is not great because we already had little to no expectations considering how bad last season ended up being. But now the real show is on, so let's move on to that. So the first 5 games again have already happened. I want to compare this year's first 5 games compared to last year's first 5 games. So last year, we had 1 win, 2 losses, and 2 draws. We had a win against Montreal, which was the very first game, barely won that game. And then a loss against Charlotte, Inter Miami, and then we drew against Cincinnati and Red Bulls. This season, we have 1 win, 3 losses, and 1 draw. We lost against Cincy in the not home opener. It wasn't at home. We lost against Cincy away in the very first game of the season. And then we lost against San Jose away as well. And then we lost at home at our home opener against Real Salt Lake. We finally got a win against Philadelphia Union. And then yesterday, we drew against DC United. So it's not looking the best. I will say I'm happy that we at least have a win. But that win against Union, I really thought that they were going to add on to that for this game against DC United. Now, granted, DC United aren't as bad as we thought they were going to be this season, especially compared to like Union. Like, I think a lot of people were expecting Union to still have, well, this isn't about that, actually. We're not even going to get to that. I don't think people expected DC United to be as good as they have been so far this season, but I was still expecting a little bit more out of the team because they were literally dominant in the last game, and I was like, okay, we can keep this momentum up, especially because we are still at home, you still have the fans, and you were just on this high, and then now it just fell flat. So going into the lineups, Tata Martino is our coach, and he is a very stubborn man, but I will say the last 2 to 3 games he's been a lot better with switching out some things and figuring out like, okay, maybe this player isn't, good right here or whatever. But for the most part, the lineups have been pretty consistent. The first game against Cincy, we had our starting lineup. I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm just going to put a picture on the screen. This is our starting 11. I was very shocked to see Cooper Sanchez of all players starting. Not to say like any hatred or anything, like that is literally a baby. He's my baby. Now, he's been doing so great so far this season, but he's 17 years old. And I just never expected Tata Martino to start a 17-year-old this early into the season, especially starting in like the home opener against FC Cincinnati of all people. So that was a shock, but this is what the starting lineup looked like for Cincy. Same thing with San Jose. When we lost, that game was just no changes there, which maybe you kind of expect because we only just had one game, and who knows, Tata was like, let me see if we can just run it back again. But yeah, it didn't work out. Home game against Real Salt Lake, that's when we started seeing some changes. 2 changes were made. I wish I wrote down who the changes were. Hold on. Saba ended up coming out, and then Nobody's was in. Who came in? Oh, Mayumba. Okay. I see. So Hernandez got the boot for the game against Real Salt Lake, and then we brought in Mayumba, and then Saba got the boot, and then Miranchuk came in. Why did that take me so long to figure out? Anyways, 2 changes were made. This was not the best game. Real Salt Lake absolutely just bulldozed through us, which was crazy considering they didn't even have their strongest 11 or strongest lineup because they had like about 4 or 5 players injured. Diego Luna wasn't even there. They started like 2 teenagers and like a rookie, and all 3 of them somehow managed to like dunk on us or was a part of the thrashing. So we definitely got cooked, and it was just really unfortunate at home. Despite Miranchuk finally getting his first start and scoring the brace, it just wasn't enough. The game was just not it. But I'm not even talking about the game right now. Let's talk about the lineups. Let me not get too ahead of myself. Let me calm down. And then the game against Philadelphia Union, some changes were made. Galarza came in, new boy on the block, and then Stian Gregerson finally got playing time. I feel like this is maybe because Call is injured, but I think he in this game proved that like he deserves to be playing, whether it be off the bench or as a starter. And then the same lineup happened yesterday or against DC United, and they had the debut of the Spirit of 96 kids. I have 2 players that I feel like are defining the team, Thomas Jakob and Cooper Sanchez. I have these 2 as my key players because I think so far, 1, they've started all of the games so far this season, and 2, they're just every single game you see them get better and better, especially Cooper Sanchez. Again, I was not expecting Cooper Sanchez to already be a starter for this team, a lock-in starter. I definitely thought that maybe after the 3rd game, like going to the home opener, he was going to get, put to the bench, and maybe an older player with more experience was going to be in as well. But like Tata is like sticking with him down, and it's just been really great to see. I personally am a big fan of coaches giving young players opportunity, especially in MLS, because I feel like we hear a lot about it's like a retirement league or whatever, but I feel like MLS is kind of like a balance of both, like the best of both worlds. You can, yes, see players who are past their prime or looking to slow down, which they shouldn't come to MLS slow down because it's really a kind of fast-paced league. But they're coming in, to kind of wind down before they hang up the boots. And that's fine, that's okay. But there's also, to me at least, MLS does a good job at developing players and bringing up youngsters. Now it's up really to the coaches and the academies and the front office or whatever to implement those young players into the teams. I feel like a lot of clubs aren't the best at implementing their young players in the team, which I feel like Atlanta United has always been one of those clubs that we don't do a good job at giving young players the opportunities they deserve. I feel like a lot of our great players, great youngsters are now at another team when they could have stayed with us and continued thriving with us and growing with the team. Efraim Morales is a good example. Noah Cobb as well. There's never anything wrong with us, giving these players a chance and shipping them off like we did with Caleb Wiley, which I don't understand why Chelsea was where we decided to ship him off to, but I digress. That's something else for another day. But back to Cooper Sanchez, I'm really proud of him, and I feel like if he continues like starting and being consistent, he's going to be an extremely special player, not even just like for this team, but even for like the US. I think he's been called up with the youth national team sides, and I don't know, I feel like in maybe 2-3 years ish, we might see him make a move to Europe. Hopefully we get some good money out of it and we don't send him to Chelsea. But he's a defining player. He broke a record in the first game of the season. He became the youngest player in Atlanta United history to start a season opener at 17 years and 332 days old. I wish I had more stats regarding him and like passing and stuff. I'll include screenshots. I really don't want this to be like an analytical thing. I'm not an analytical girly. I don't do all that analytical stuff. I don't do numbers, but I just want to yap. And then Thomas Jakob, I definitely think that he's a defining player because, again, I don't think people were expecting him to do as well as he has been in the position that he's played in. I feel like there's been a big thing with like a number 6. We don't have a number 6, or who's going to fit that number 6 role. I don't think that's per se what position that he came in for. He's a defender that turned into a number 6, but I think so far he's been doing pretty well. I think, again, as each game progresses, he's doing a lot better in that position. He already has his first goal of the season. In his first game, or like his Atlanta United debut, he had 5 tackles, which is a team high, won 11 duels, had 6 recoveries. So, if his first game, he's already doing stuff like that, like, I think by the end of the season, he's definitely going to be like one of the top defenders, or whatever number 6 is. I don't know. But he's going to be a top player, not just for the club, but in the league as well. So going back to Cooper, I also think if he keeps this up, he's definitely going to be like a part of MLS's 22 under 22 list. Mark my words. Those are my 2 defining players. I think they've just both been doing a good job. I like how confident both of them are. I like how skilled they are. Yes, with Cooper, he's very young. Sure, he's gonna make some mistakes, but I think he does a pretty good job at cleaning it up. And he's like, he doesn't look like he's 17. Like whenever you watch him play, maybe I'll give him like a 21, but he plays pretty mature for his age. Additions. The whiplash that I get from seeing Cooper in the lineup every single game, it's been good. It's not anything bad or anything. But I'm just really just flabbergasted at how Tata is really putting so much trust in him already this early in the season, with him being so young. I thought that this was going to be Luke Brennan's breakout season. I didn't know it was going to be Cooper Sanchez season. I thought it was going to be Luke Brennan's season. So speaking of Luke Brennan, this is probably going to go off, but yesterday I noticed in the game against DC United, our formation, we gotta work on that a little bit. I know Tata really likes 4 in the back, but it's just 4 in the back and inshallah. I think we need to do something about the winger situation. I will say, obviously we have like Miggy and Alexi on the left and right, but I wish we had a little bit more creativity on the wings, because I feel like so far most of the action and most of the, pizzazz is coming through our midfield. But sometimes we, like against DC United, sometimes we just get shut out, and granted, they did do a good job, but if DC United made a bad pass, we ended up cleaning up real quick, or we were in the space to pick it up. But I don't know. I feel like we need to figure something out with our wingers, because the formation yesterday just looked so off. It looked really bad. It looked kind of disorganized. You just have the 4 in the back, and then everyone else just goes run to the front. I don't know, but that's all I have to say on that, honestly. And then with Jakob, he's just been great so far, and kind of doing a little more than we expected in that number 6 position, considering, again, he came in to be a defender. So now I have repeated offenses during the first 5 games. Well, maybe the 3rd, 4th, and 5th game, I was back on socials. I took a social media break from January up until like the beginning of March. And so I wrote down notes in my iPad of like each game. I should have like ranked them or rated them, but whatever, it doesn't even matter. I just have a lot to say about Hoyos. I'm not a fan of him. I really wanted this to be the year that Jaden Hibbert continued what he started, what we saw from him at the end of last season. I wanted us to see a progression of that. If that's one positive thing I can say about last season, is the fact that Ronnie Dyla gave him the chance in goal. And I think those last couple games, he did really well, especially considering he's very young. And I don't know, I feel like the results weren't even maybe that bad whenever he was in goal, but I just really wanted him to be the starting goalkeeper. And I knew it wasn't going to happen deep down because, again, he is very young. Atlanta United, we are not known for trusting our young players. I mean, hey, there's a shift now this year, but we're typically not known for trusting our young players. It's very, very rare, especially not a goalkeeper. We very much love having experienced goalkeepers in the back, but experienced goalkeepers also come with age and they lose their abilities. Sometimes they're not as fast as they used to be, or they make silly little mistakes. It's every goalkeeper has that. Whatever age, they'll make mistakes, but if it's like a consistent thing, that's where it starts to become a problem. And that's what I'm seeing with Hoyos. I don't see how I'm seeing people say like he's a great ball distributor, whatever. Where I'm not sure what we're seeing here, but that's definitely not the case. I feel like Hoyos, if he doesn't do at least one stupid thing a game, he simply will not be able to live. Like yesterday in the game against DC United, I keep saying yesterday, I'm probably not going to post in 2 days from now, but the game against DC United, he almost was the reason they scored on us. DC United honestly could have won that game 2-0. There was one specific moment where I don't remember which DC United player kicked the ball. He kicked it or, took the shot, and then it hit the back of Hoyos. I don't know if it hit his head, we were cooked. We were done for. But I think it hit the post and then it hit his back. This is just Looney Tunes type stuff. Our defense, the first 3 games for sure, they were just disgusting, just terrible, especially that game against San Jose, and especially the home opener against Real Salt Lake. They just look so bad. They're inconsistent. They leave too much open space. They're unorganized and they're slow on top of that, which is why I was really confused as to why Stian Gregerson wasn't starting, because whenever he's healthy, he's on point. So the one time Stian Gregerson is healthy, we don't play him. Make it make sense. And it's very rare that he's healthy. So luckily Tata came to his senses, but again, I really do feel like because Barakal is out, that's why he got his chance. But I think he's proven himself that he deserves to be starting, because he looked amazing in that game against Philadelphia Union. He literally was like a brick wall. And I feel like that game as a whole just brought us back to 2018, true Tata. This was true Tata ball, and this game was, to me at least, the epitome of what it means to trust the process and trust in Tata. Now granted, we're not talk about what happened afterwards, because again, against DC United, they gave us nothing. But that game, if they continue to play that way throughout the season, they're gonna make it a lot farther than they think. Again, I don't expect Atlanta to be very far. If I do want to give out unrealistic expectations, maybe I can see us making playoffs, whether it be a wild card game or just making it to the last spot. But I don't really see it as I don't really think that it's going to be we're going to be bottom of the barrel, we're not going to touch it. If they play the way that they did at home against Philadelphia Union. Now, granted, again, Philadelphia Union are a terrible team this year, but that's a problem of their own. But still, I'm glad that we took the advantage, or I'm glad we took advantage of the fact that they're so terrible. Because yes, we can both be terrible teams, because we both were going into this game 0-3. But on paper, Atlanta United is the better team. So there's no reason for us to not have won that game, So I feel like if they all play like that, the way that the front 3, our DPs, they all connected so well. The chemistry in that game was literally out of this world. I've never seen the team play like that before. Usually when they play together, they play like they just met each other like 2 days ago, and then they're like, okay, yeah, you guys are gonna play your first game together. Like, but the chemistry in that game was just beautiful. And the goals, the way they connected with each other, our little Paraguay, like the Latino, like Baez, Miggy, who had 3 assists in that game, and then Galarza, who immediately has made his mark. And honestly, I'm really glad when he got subbed in, we got to see him play, when he subbed in against Real Salt Lake, though we were down, we got to see his potential, and I was honestly really excited about it, because it's really hard for me to be excited about new Atlanta players, because we have so many players that come in, and sometimes they give us everything and sometimes they give us nothing. I definitely think that game against Union was, the players just have to try and implement that over and over again. But unfortunately, the game against DC United, they just couldn't. But then again, DC United, they are a very like low block, mid block team. So it was really hard for our front line to really like get in there. And the chances that we took were just not great. So that's really all with that. But it's really disappointing that after that high we had against Union, we ended this like 5-game stretch. Well, we ended this home game stretch and then going into international break with this draw. So there's still a lot left to do, a lot of work to do. I don't know. But my personal goals for the team, I want them to find their identity, which I think that was founded in the game against Union. Like, that was like true Atlanta United like ball. If you want to talk about nostalgia, like, because this club seems to be so obsessed with nostalgia for some reason. We're bringing back old players, we're bringing back old coaches, whatever. But that was the team. Like, that was like real Tata ball. Like, that was like tiki taka, whatever, beautiful, whatever, joga bonita. Like, that was like real football. So I want the team to find their identity. I want each game to be progressive, whether it be positive or, well, I want to say positive, but like, even if the game ended in a 0-0 draw like it did yesterday, I want us to get something out of it. Granted, like, that 0-0 draw, we could have done a lot more. We could have done a lot better. We just didn't take our chances at times, and we just kind of let things fumble. But I want each game to be progressive. You know, when the final whistle blows, I want to feel like something was accomplished, you know, whether it be, the DPs, at least they tried and looked good together, or the midfield's connecting, we're doing better on transitional plays, or the defense didn't look funky, you know, just something like that. I want us to get at least something positive from each of the game as they go by. And then I want the team to have more than 5 wins this season. That's like my biggest thing. That is my MLS Cup this year. I want Atlanta United to have more than 5 wins this season. We already have 1. Why does my bones keep cracking? We already have 1. So we just need 4 more wins. We have 34 games to play this season. We've already gone through 5. I think winning 4 more games, I think we should be able to do that. There's like no way we shouldn't be able to do this. After the 1 win we had against Union, I'm happy we have that. I wish we could have gone to win against DC United, because I think it was pretty doable. Even if it was like a stale 1-0 game, that would have been enough. But it was just a stagnant, just kind of no creativity, just boring game. We expected a lot more because we know what the team is capable of. But again, I want the team to find their identity. I want us to be progressing in a positive way after each game, and most importantly, I want us to have more than 5 wins this season, because whoa, buddy, like, we cannot have a terrible record like we did last year. So that's where I'm at after 5 games. I'm curious at how everyone else feels. My stomach is growling. Especially been watching week to week. Old fans, new fans, feel free to comment. I feel obligated to say that, even though probably no one's going to comment on this. But other than that, that's about it. I will see you guys in the next video.